All right, big story. Let's talk big story tonight. And stop me if you heard this one. Amid a housing crisis, a city announces they're going to open organized homeless villages. They find a lot. They say we're going to put them here. This is where they're going to go. Then, days later, they pull a 180. Why? Well, not only are the neighbors mad, but officials also learn that lot floods. For those of you thinking, yeah, Dan, we know, man, you already did this story. Did that happen in Portland? Yeah, but not so fast, because tonight we're talking about Salem. Here's Maggie Vespa.
They thought because we're elderly that we would just take it and roll over and, just stay in our little complex. But it affects everybody.
Years into a housing crisis, people tend not to be thrilled with their elected officials.
They have no control over what happens outside the camp.
In Salem, a familiar blunder is only fueling frustrations.
And they're backtracking at this point now to cover their butts.
Here's what happened. Late last month, the Salem City Council approved a plan to house the city's homeless. It's one several other cities, including Portland, are considering. They voted to open an organized outdoor village big enough for 60 people, and they voted to do it here on a city-owned lot along Wallace Road Northwest. Part of what followed was predictable: backlash from neighbors.
How will the city help keep us safe?
This lot sits between two apartment complexes and less than a quarter mile from an elementary school and a retirement community. The same retirement community that held this packed public comment session where attendees aimed no signs at the city leaders on stage. That community is called Salem Town. Larry and Linda Trussell live there.
It affects everybody.
Then came curveball number 2. Does this flood?
It does flood. A lot.
Neighbors say this one the city should have known about, but they didn't.
Gets probably at least 1.5 feet, if not more.
The revelation in Salem? All too familiar for Portlanders. Last week, Housing Commissioner Dan Ryan's office confirmed to KGW the city is scrapping plans to open a similar setup, a safe rest village, on this southeast Portland lot. The reason? Officials learned it also floods. There were even signs warning visitors not to feed the ducks. This week, Salem city officials are following Portland's lead. Councilors told KGW they'll vote Monday on whether to reconsider the plan of putting a homeless village here. Adam Lidren, who worries about his son walking through the village, is blown away.
He's 9 years old and he's autistic, to make it anything more severe, and so new things coming at him is going to really mess up his schedule, really mess up his mental stability, and could ruin a routine.
How do you feel about the job that's been done? I think you just kind of summed it up, but how would you rate the job that the city has done thus far with trying to get this up and running?
I think they had a very poor and lack of communication with the citizens of West Salem, period.
Okay, Maggie Vespa joining us now. Really, it seriously feels like deja vu here.
I know, it does. And granted, each city, of course, has its own policies and its own procedures. But, the common thread here, and I always ask people to keep this in mind, both Portland and Salem are under official states of emergency surrounding housing. And that, again, is what people should remember, because that's why city officials aren't checking with you before announcing a village in your neighborhood. A legal, official state of emergency lets them speed a process like this up and kind of skip some steps in order to get people housed quickly. And so now in the last week or two, we've seen two cities basically move so fast in that process. They've infuriated neighbors and they've missed what seems like a pretty obvious issue, that the land floods.
A lot of people are going to be arguing over these different facts, but one thing you can't argue over is that this is certainly an emergency.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Maggie, thank you.
Sure.
Now